Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Faces of RfR. I'm Eric Wells. I am the support group director for Recovering from Religion. And in this Faces of RfR series, what we do is we sit down and talk with a volunteer who's been volunteering for Recovering from Religion, talk about what they do with RfR, and get to know them a little bit, to see what makes them tick. And today is no different. Today, I am very, very excited to talk with one of my most favorite people with RfR. So today, I want to introduce you to Shanon. Shanon Nebo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. One of your favorite people. I didn't know that.
I know you didn't know that, but you are. I just see you as incredibly talented, and when I need something done, you work your magic, and it's good. It's done. It's amazing.
I do my best. I try and keep everybody happy. I can be a little bit of a people pleaser. Thanks, religion. So you guys reap the benefits of my previous indoctrination.
All right, I love it. So Shanon, where are you located, and what do you do for RfR?
So I am in Arnold, Maryland, which is just like a tiny bit north of Annapolis, which is the capital of Maryland. Some people think it's Baltimore, but it is not. It is Annapolis, which nobody has heard of, which is fine. And I love living in this area. We're like right by DC and Baltimore, and we have rivers and beaches, and I love it. So here's where I am. I live in a house with my husband, Mark Nebo, and my 3 kids, who are all boys, and 16, 5, and I gotta think about it.
You got a ton of pets that are running through the house too. It is a lively place to be from the sounds of it.
It is, yes, and you might hear from some of those pets throughout this interview, so that's a bonus. That I figure that's a good thing and not a bad thing. So I have 3 dogs, and those are the ones you'll probably hear, and 3 cats, and fish, and I have 2 leopard geckos, and a ball python, and I have some rats. Intentionally.
Who's behind you? Is that the python?
This one? Yes, this is the ball python. She's in her little hide right now. It's like I tell people that I have a snake, and they're like, oh God, and I'm like, no, she's in a little ball like this big, and she's hiding. You won't even see her. Sometimes she'll sit in she's got like a water dish, so sometimes she'll sit in her water under the heat lamp. But they're like, oh, will she get out? She definitely won't. She's tiny.
So what do you do for Recovering from Religion? What's your role?
So I do a lot of things for Recovering from Religion.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, because as you said, I'm very talented. So I am the treasurer. So I take care of all their finances. I file their taxes, which I just did.
Congratulations! Woot woot!
Yes, thank you. Well, normally the taxes are not super complicated. Usually it's super duper easy, but this year it was much harder because we made more money.
More money, more problems.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we can do more stuff.
Yeah.
So
this was kind of a neat landmark year for Recovering from Religion. 2019 was too. It was almost like the start of a whole new a chapter for Recovering from Religion is kind of what I see it as.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And as cold-hearted and material as this sounds, money is a huge part of that. Getting those donations and building the programs and being able to recruit more volunteers and being able to train all the volunteers, because it's not just about getting people in the door. We also have to train them, and we have to support them, and because volunteers, they should be treated nicely and should feel like their contribution matters. So money really helps get that done. So we had, I guess compared to Red Cross and stuff like that, it's probably not that much, but it was enough that we were able to fulfill some of our goals. So that was really cool. So I do the money stuff. I keep track of everything, which is, some people would think that it's boring, but I really like the whole orgasm aspect of it, you know, making sure like everything is the way that it should be. I like that. So I do that. And then I guess the more creative side of it, I do the social media. So I manage all the social media. And we have a Facebook and we have a Twitter and we have an Instagram. For now, we may down the road add other platforms, but those are our three that we do right now, which I love managing the social media because I get to interact, and of course they don't know it's me doing it, but I still get to interact with people and answer their questions, and I get to it's kind of like being a helpline agent, except a little different, but I get to have that interaction with people and I get to give them resources and be like, go here for help. And I get to see all the support coming in. And so that's really nice. I like that a lot. I get to design graphics. I like that too, because that's creative and fun. And then I'm also the director of the Fall Excursion, which again, another huge creative endeavor. I just love it. I love all of it.
The Fall Excursion is something we started last year. It was like the very first one was last September?
Yes.
August? September?
Yeah, September. Yep.
We were planning on doing this year, but for obvious reasons.
Yes. Yes. We have not like made a big announcement of the cancellation. Just because at first there was so much more important stuff going on. But we'll announce like the official cancellation. But obviously we want everyone to be safe. And because the nature of the excursion, it's very intimate, and people are in houses together, like cabins. And there's no way to achieve what we do with social distancing. So that is canceled for this year. But that just gives me another year to plan.
So outside of recovering from religion, what do you do for a living? What do you like to do for hobbies?
For a living. So I don't bring any money into the house, really. That is Mark. I do a lot of other stuff, though. I guess I bring resources in. And I guess sometimes I do bring money in. I've like done a little bit of freelance writing, blah, 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 but it's like a little bit of extra, not a lot. I take care of the whole house. Basically, I'm like the house manager. I feel like it sounds very like domestic and gender roles. Mark brings home the bacon and I stay home and take care of the kids. But, but that's what we do. Yeah. So I take care of the kids and I take care of all the animals. And I have a big garden. I only live on like about a 1/4 acre, like including what the house sits on. So it's not like a ton of land or anything. It's not like a farm. But I really love to garden. So I have vegetables I take care of, and herbs and flowers and trees. And I'm really into cultivating ecosystems and trying to. Yeah, like I like to treat my yard like an ecosystem. So I don't use pesticides. I don't use herbicides except for on poison ivy, because that stuff.
Because fuck poison ivy.
Yes. I get it very bad. It's like all I have to do, I don't even have to touch it.
To look at it.
That touched it, I will get it. So I do use Roundup on poison ivy, but I apply it very carefully. I only use it on the poison ivy. So I like to cultivate pollinator spaces, and I like to plant things that are native, and I like to contribute to like native ecology, because I live very, like I can see a river, a big river by my house, not like a creek, but one of the rivers that feeds into the Chesapeake Bay by my house. So I'm all about trying to help the environment in my small little way. So I do that. And then I volunteer for RfR. I get involved in various social justice-y things. I have I have like Black Lives Matter signs, and I haven't gotten involved in my like neighborhood like civic associations officially, but I am a frequent commenter in the group.
It sounds like
So
sitting still is kind of hard for you to do. Like you just love to get out there and be active and make a difference and learn. That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
yes, I do like all that stuff. I guess like I do sit still and I do like resting and all that stuff, but I really love having stuff to do. And I like to feel like my life matters. I
Yeah.
like to feel like there's going to be, you know, that my having been here will have had a positive effect on society and the environment. So,
I love that. Yeah, I could relate so much to that because for me, I want to leave this world a better place than I found it. And volunteering for recovering from religion definitely fits right into that, along with a lot of other things that I love to do too. Yeah. Have you ever been religious? And if so, kind of what's that story?
yes, I have. Um, so I didn't like attend a church per se. Like I was never a part of a congregation, which it's very weird. I feel like my religion story is very different from a lot of other people's. So my dad was very religious, and um, because it's kind of like weird, my upbringing, my parents, first of all, let me get this like out of the way. I love my parents. They're very loving. They did their absolute best. I hold no grudges against them. Um, that being said, like everybody has their issues. So my mom was an alcoholic, so there was that, and my dad used religion to deal with that. Um, and so, like I said, they weren't abusive, not like that. It was not like that at all. It was just them battling their demons. And
Doing
for
the best they could with the information that they had at the time, it sounds like.
yes, yes. And for dad, battling demons was literal. So I I was a daddy's girl. I kind of connected to him a lot. And there were a lot of good moral lessons that he taught me, but he was very religious. He thought demons were real, but he didn't really like any of the churches around here, um, for various nebulous reasons. So we didn't go. So I just kind of absorbed my religion from him, and I took things very literally. So like I was like reading the Bible, like front to cover. Although when I got to the begats and the begats, I kind of
The whole genealogy stuff. Yeah, just
yes. I was like, yeah, I was like, this is hard to get through. So I did skip that part.
that's
And
more like better to be in a poster rather than like in a book or something. Like super boring to read that.
yes, I know. I know. And I didn't exactly understand what was expected of me. So I'm like, am I supposed to remember all this? I'm never gonna be able to remember this. Um, and my dad was like very into talking about like what's going to happen when we die. He was very much into the like, I guess, metaphysical aspect, like the demons and the angels and what's going to happen when we die, and Revelations, which I read Revelations more than any other part of the Bible because that is the most interesting part of the Bible. I think it's also the scariest. And when you have undiagnosed anxiety as a child, it's a little complicated reading Revelations all the time.
Did you ever read any of the Frank Peretti books that kind of talked about angels and demons and battles that were going on and how they connected with humans? Some scary, scary stories as a kid.
No,
Okay, good.
no, I didn't. But I did watch The Exorcist a few times because Dad loved to talk about The Exorcist.
The
And
documentary, Exorcist.
like, yes, exactly. Yes, precisely, the documentary. Because those those steps that the priest fell down, those are real steps. And my dad saw those steps because we live in Maryland. It's close to DC, Georgetown, like we're, within range.
Yeah.
Within range of the devil. So the steps were real. And when my dad went and saw the steps, he got this horrible feeling. And I guess a lot of people were injured and or died while filming The Exorcist. I have not looked into how true that is. But dad was invested, the devil's real and this is a true accounting. And he said that he read the book, and in the book it's a little bit different. But it was like proof for him. It was proof. And so I was, a child, and I'm soaking all this stuff up, and he focuses a lot about like angels and demons and things like that. More so demons, I think, because I think he felt a lot of dealing with my mom being an alcoholic, dealing with anybody with substance abuse issues is really hard because you don't have a lot of control over it. And 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, they didn't really know how to deal with addiction properly. They kind of treated addicts like criminals, like they were morally deficient, not understanding that they were just making it harder, by ostracizing the addict.
So much of the time too, what they were taught to do or told to do or learned to do was just sweep it under the rug. It's best if you ignore it and it'll go away. I think it was one step removed from, hey, put them into an asylum,
Yes.
That's what they did in some of the previous generations, and then it kind of morphed into let's just sweep it under the rug. And now it's a lot different and more open, and I think we can work on the problem and address the problem much better these days.
Yes. Well, mental health care and the whole concept of mental health and mental illness, it's just become much more accepted for people to have problems and to have struggles and to seek help. Whereas, previous generation, boomer generation, they just smoke and drank and kind of were like, meh, that's how I'm going to deal with it. So that was kind of my upbringing, and it wasn't all bad at all. It wasn't bad, like at all. There were so many good parts of my upbringing, and lots of good stuff. And there were some good things that came from religion. I feel like my I don't know what you want to call it, the activist gene, the thing in you that makes you want to be good, that makes you want to affect the world around you. Religion really cultivated that in me. And kind of I got my sense of a moral compass from my dad, knowing what's right and wrong. And as I started to explore the Bible, explore religion myself, instead of just kind of taking sermons from my father, basically, I started to really struggle because of the contradictions in the Bible. My own moral compass and what I learned was not matching up with what I was reading. So I guess that was kind of the beginning of doubt. And then the beginning of doubt is so fraught with struggle, because as a Christian, you're taught that doubt is just the devil whispering in your ear. And when you combine this kind of religiosity with any kind of mental illness, you just get a huge clusterfuck. Mm-hmm. So if you have anxiety, like if you have like generalized anxiety disorder or any kind of trauma, any kind of stuff going on in your brain where it doesn't necessarily reflect what's going on, it's all very explainable by saying, well, that's demons, that's the devil. Those feelings that you're feeling are coming from the devil and demons. And again, a couple decades ago, they didn't really look at mental health that much. So it seemed just as plausible as anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was one of the things that kind of planted that seed of doubt, and kind of how did you sort of come out of that mindset?
Well, I was in kind of the doubting mindset for a long, long time. So there were two big things as a teenager that I really struggled with when it came to the Bible. The first one was hell. I really struggled with hell because after reading the Bible, I was like, wow, so like most people are going to hell.
Mm.
Don't like that. Like, that doesn't sound very nice, God.
Did you like flip it around and think, if I created the universe, I wouldn't have made a hell? Did you kind of, hey,
There's my 5-year-old. There's Nova. Say hi.
Hi.
what's up, Nova?
Good.
I'm rich. Have gems and money. I'm rich. I'm rich.
She pays all of our bills.
Good.
All right. Anything else, Bubba?
So, like, I wonder if I'm the richest Bubba or if there's more richer Bubbas out there.
There's more richer Bubbas out there, Bubba.
Well, like,
He's very materialistic.
Like Bubba Gump.
Well, we call both of the little ones Bubbas. And it was like a weird sort of evolution of baby. We started saying Bubba, and so Nova and Jupiter, my hippie named children, we call them our Bubbas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I call my my big one, my 16-year-old, we call him my big Bubba, because he's like a foot taller than me now. All right, why don't you go be with Daddy for a little bit? He loves being on camera. He's such a diva. He's very materialistic. He loves being on camera. He loves accessories.
He's quite photogenic. Almost reminds me of a little bit of the Atreyu in Neverending Story.
Oh.
Just a little bit.
Oh, it's the hair. He's got that long hair. Yes. Yeah. It's his choice.
And also I got stung by a bee in the back.
Okay.
He did. Random fact, he got stung by a bee. It was like very theatrical though, because he was just, I was in the garden and he was on the sidewalk and he was just like running around. And I think a bee like landed on his hair or something, because all of a sudden he's running around and then all of a sudden he's like, ah! He was just like, he was
really dramatic.
Gunned down in the street, you know, just starts screaming. And I'm like, what happened? Because I was like bent over. I didn't see what was going on. I just heard him cry. And then Mark was out there and I didn't see anything on his back because his hair just covered up the sting mark. He was stung. I think the bee got stuck in his hair. Bee panicked, stung him. And then, of course, Nova was then, I'm never going outside again. Here he's outside. So,
yeah. So
yes, he's very, he is the diva of the family. But I can't, the question, I'm sorry, my children are very distracting.
Quite all right. So we were talking about hell and kind of, it seemed to be one of the first.
Oh, yes.
Was doubting.
Yes.
It. And I asked you, like, if you flipped it around, as in thinking, if you were creating the universe, did you think about, like, if you could have done a better job than this?
That's blasphemy. That's blasphemy, Eric.
I know. And I'm going to hell just for thinking about it.
Yes. I would have never thought that ever. No, I am not a Mormon. No, I did not think that. I was trying to figure out God, you know, like why, like why create these people? And then like I was always thinking about people that had never even heard of God, or people that would have no good reason to believe, or like I remember asking my dad about it because I was very distraught. I was like, well, what about like people in Africa who they don't even know what God is? And dad was like, oh, well, God will take care. They'll go to heaven because they're innocent. They don't know. Dad's just making this shit up. He doesn't know either. He's trying to figure out like ways to answer my questions, but he doesn't know the answers either.
And he didn't want to say, I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes he would like basically tell me like God would take care of things. He was very emotionally dependent on religion. He really, really needed it. Whereas I kind of was more open to asking questions. And I was a kid too. So I had less time being indoctrinated. So there was the going to hell part, and I read Revelation. Like I was trying to like do the math, like, okay, so Revelations says it's like what, 228,000 or some number. I can't remember exactly the number, but it's some number like that. And I'm like, okay, this is population of the earth. That's not that many people. Like, what is that? Like, is there some like weird reincarnation thing where there's like I'm like trying to like justify it, figure it out, not making any sense. So there's that. And I'm like, I don't like that. And then the other part of it was sex. So as a teenager, I had hormones and I was like, yes, I like, and like I wasn't having sex, but I was masturbating secretly and with shame afterwards. Because I guess the Bible says you're not supposed to do that either, even though it's kind of vague about like women, because like we don't like spill seed or whatever. We don't do that stuff. But then like we're not supposed to do it except for having children. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that for a really long time. And I really like masturbating. So it was like a battle of like urges and guilt, which is fun. Not really. Like it's like being like a priest in the Catholic Church, the urges and the guilt. Yeah. Urges, guilt. And dad was like very much like I was to be like as pure as the driven snow and not even think about sex. I was not even a sexual creature. I was a girl, but I didn't have any of the girl parts. I was a girl in theory with no genitalia.
You're like a Barbie girl.
Yes. And so, yeah, and dad was like very, very against sex. And I remember one time, gosh, how old was I? 17. And I was like my first boyfriend. And I was going to like I was like going to stay the night at my boyfriend's house, but he was living with his parents. I can't effing remember exactly what the circumstances were, but dad was like, you're not going to sleep with him. You're not going to sleep with him, right? And I'm like, right. So there's like the lying part of it too. And when I was pregnant with my oldest, I was 19 when I got pregnant with him. On birth control, that is not 100% effective, by the way, especially if you miss a pill by mistake, which I did. And I got pregnant with my oldest, and I remember telling my dad, and his reaction, his first words, I'll never forget it, were, so you're having sex.
Oh. This was a big letdown for him then, huh?
Yes. And like, I wanted to be like,
Dad.
Actually, no, I didn't have sex. I don't know what happened. It's a miracle.
In the Bible.
Yes. That's what I should have said.
Oh my.
I don't think he would have believed it, but no. Yeah, so that was his reaction. And I wanted to be like, I've been having sex since I was 16, but because I wanted to get credit for like all the years I'd been having sex and didn't get knocked up, but I didn't do that. So yeah, so sex was another like big one where I was just kind of like, why is God gonna make us be like this? And then be like, don't do that. It's like, why didn't you make sex not so fun? Or I don't know, why didn't you just make it the rule not be, don't do that ever?
Yeah. Yeah.
So hell and sex, those were the things. And I would always, whenever I felt like anxiety, I thought as a teenager, when like I started masturbating, whenever I felt anxiety, I thought that it was the demons coming for me because I had masturbated like however many days.
Oh, oh, that's horrible.
I know, I laugh about it now, but it was horrible.
Yeah.
And I would just like cry and, oh, I didn't want to get possessed and throw up, you know, the pea soup stuff. And
The Exorcist was so real for you. Oh.
yes, because my dad told me it was real and I believed him.
Oh, Shannon, my heart goes out to your younger self.
I was so trusting. I was just so trusting. And I was like, if my dad says that it's true, it is true. That's why I believed in Santa Claus until I was 13 years old. Because dad just didn't have the heart to tell me. He kept trying to hint at it, but he just couldn't right out tell me.
Oh.
You know, been lying to me since I was like, I don't know, 3, 4, whatever. So yes, I was very trusting, and it didn't always work out.
Yeah. Yeah. So how would you describe your current beliefs?
I am an atheist, but I'm not, I guess I'm like an agnostic atheist. Like I'm not like, there's no God, gods don't exist at all. I'm just more like the God of the Bible doesn't exist. That's not real. And the God of Islam doesn't exist. And these structured gods of religions that have been made by men don't exist. Mm. If there's a thing, I'm not particularly concerned about how it's going to treat me when I die. And I don't think it gives a shit about sex or any of that stuff. I mean, but I feel like pretty confident that when we die, we just kind of rot like everything else. And
the lights turn off, curtain goes down.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people think that that is like, I struggled with it a little bit. I struggled with the thought of there not being a heaven. Because for the longest time, that was a big motivator for me. I struggled with there not being a heaven, and I struggled with a lot of stuff. And one thing that really helped me was understanding the value of rest. So, like I said, I have 3 kids, and I have 3 kids. There have been times where I've been ill. There have been times where I've been in great pain. There have been plenty of times in my life where I've suffered immensely. And there have been times where I have just been so, so tired, where all I want to do is rest. And I feel like this isn't true for everyone, because there's lots of ways for people to die, and many of them are not fair at all and don't really give the person a very good shot at life and living. But for a lot of people who get old, people who get sick, they're being able to just stop can be a gift. It can be such a gift. And if you don't have any emotional hangups, if you don't have anything, and again, this is not going to be the case for, all ways of leaving life, but a lot of times when people die, they're very ready to be done.
Yeah.
And I just remember all the times that I've ever felt ready to be done. And the feeling of peace and release that comes with rest. And so I kind of look at death like that.
Yeah, my grandmother lived until she was about 92, 93, and she was sharp as a tack all the way up until she passed away. And there was, she was a moment where she said, I think I need to go to the hospital. And so yeah, there was clearly something wrong, and she was in the hospital for a day or two. And then she kind of called us in, I'm ready to go. I think I'm done. And we were very, very sad. She was an amazing woman, but it seems like from her end, she was done. She was very happy and at peace with that decision. And luckily though, she had her mental faculties up until she passed. But yeah, she told us she was ready to go. And it was different than like a violent death or an unexpected death or something like that. This was something that seemed to be in her control, and how she wanted it to be. It was, and I gotta say, I don't know. You may not have seen the movie Big Fish.
I did. Mm-hmm.
That was, I just recently watched that again, and seems to be kind of the message of that story of like creating your own life, telling your own story, and being in control of how it ends. And it's beautiful. So I like that sentiment, Shannon. Thanks for bringing that back, because this is something that I struggle with a lot, is my own fear of death and mortality. And
I mean, it's totally out of our control. We have no say in the matter whatsoever, for the most part. Some people do, but a lot of us don't have any say in it whatsoever. And I feel like that's how I live my life, like, and a lot of people are like, live your life to the fullest and go do the things. And for some people it means like parasailing and jumping out of airplanes. But, and for me, it may be big adventures like that once my kids are grown. But right now, like if I were to die tomorrow, I have lived my life to the fullest. I loved my children deeply. I've loved my husband. I've taken care of every living thing around me. I have tried to contribute to, it's like, you know what I mean? Like I have done my best. Like I can feel like, and I guess that's kind of the way I try and do it. Whenever it is that I go to rest, finally, I can say, I had so many happy moments and I left so much love and I did my best.
Oh man, that's cool. I love it. There's a lot of allergies, and so my eyes are watering up. I apologize for that.
Yes, because that's all you can do. That's all you can do. All you can do is do your best. And, if there's no heaven, then like, what do you leave behind? You leave behind the lives that you affected and the things that you grew and the things that you nurtured and the things that you loved. It's like, and there's just memories and echoes of you, but that's the Eunice that you leave behind. So
it's beautiful, man. So kind of coming out of religion, what has been the hardest thing that to overcome, the thing that you've struggled with that kind of stemmed from religion that you've overcome? What was the hardest thing?
I think the hardest thing for me, and I feel like so many people share this, at least I've learned that so many people share this, is the fear of hell. Like, yeah. Even when I was like, I'm pretty sure the God of the Bible, like I felt pretty comfortable in like the belief, of there not being God, but there was still this lingering, but what if, and hell. So that took me probably a good year after. Like even when I said I was an atheist, there was still that echo of hell in the back of my mind. That took me some time to sort out. Like I really had to think about it a lot, and I had to watch some YouTube videos and read some other things that people had said and talk to other people about it, to really kind of help me process all that and to help me really feel like I wasn't going to hell. Yeah. Like there's beliefs and there's feelings, and those two things don't always quite match up. And sometimes, the feelings come first and sometimes the beliefs come first, and it takes a while for those things to really come together. But yeah, I would say a good year for me to process my whole fear of hell thing.
Yeah, it takes some time for the two to match, but it also takes work. And it sounds like you went and put in the work to kind of figure out one way or the other for yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, I that's how I am. I put in the work. Like if something is not in alignment, I mean not to sound like wooey or like crystals, I don't mean like that. But like if my feelings and my beliefs don't match up, if I'm having some kind of like dissonance within myself, it's very uncomfortable for me. I do not like that feeling at all. So I do work very hard to try and figure things out.
So you use that sense of dissidence almost as an indicator that, hey, there's something I have to work on. It sounds like you almost see it like as an opportunity rather in some sense. That's impressive. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, it's just being self-aware and listening to yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not just, you know, dissonance. It's like if you're sick, you know, if there's something wrong in you, it behooves you to pay attention to that so that you can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling ill, if you have a cold, you shouldn't go around acting like you don't. You should rest and take care of yourself. And it's the kind of the same thing. And I think I attribute this a lot to growing up with mental illness and having to find ways to cope with it before like medication and all that kind of thing became more like available and mainstream. But if something feels wrong, it's like, why? It's like, you don't have to keep feeling wrong. You don't have to feel this way. You can fix it.
I like that. Nice. So let's talk a little bit about recovering from religion. How did you first hear about RfR? How did you first come in contact with it?
So the first time I heard about RfR was in 2012 in Austin at the American Atheist Convention. It was my first atheist convention. Mark and I can't remember if we were married yet or not. We might not have been married. Living in sin.
You heathens, oh my gosh.
I know. And so we were tabling there, and there was the RfR table was like across from us. So that's how I first came into contact with them and some of their volunteers. And I like, since the first time I ever heard of RfR, I was like, that is awesome. Because I was like, I needed that. I need that. Like, I need that. So, and so many other people need it. So I just really, like, even before I got really involved, we donated, like we were totally into it as soon as we heard of it.
So why did you kind of somewhat answered it, I guess, but why did you actually step up and volunteer? Like what?
Sorry, that was my dog. I don't know if you heard that.
A little bit
Groaning
of
noise. That was
yeah.
all right, he's doing it more.
Fine. So why'd you step up to volunteer, and kind of what do you get out of doing this kind of work?
So at first it was just like, I was just kind of helping them out a little bit. As like an outside entity, I just was kind of helping them with like store some of their stuff. Like I was a very organized person. And so I was helping them get some of their stuff in order. And then as I kind of got more into it, I really liked what I was doing. And I saw like they had a need. And so they asked me to be on their board, which I was like flattered. I was like, yes, of course I will. And I get so much fulfillment out of it. Yeah. I feel like I'm really, like my existence is making a difference in people's lives, like a tangible difference. And I do like, I guess if I were like only doing like their books and stuff like that, maybe it would be less rewarding because I wouldn't get to like interact with people. But because I'm also doing the social media part of it, which I was doing, like I was into social media and managing social media before RfR. So that was already kind of a strength of mine. And I kind of saw a need there and I started contributing there as well. It just, it's just so rewarding to, like, people have a problem and they're suffering, and I identify with that because I used to have those same feelings. I used to have the same fears and anxieties, and I can just be like, oh, here's a solution. And then they feel better. It's amazing. And it's so easy. It's like all the resources are right there. Like, we have a resource section. It's been curated by our resource volunteers. And it's like, here is a solution. Or do you need to talk to a person? Sure, no problem. Here's our helpline full of specially trained agents who can help you exactly with this problem. It's just so awesome to be able to hand people these very viable solutions to these problems that they've had, and they like had no idea that any of this was real. And they're like, their brain explodes. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed. And it's just so easy. It's fantastic. It really, like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and it's the rewarding part too. Kind of comes from not only understanding a little bit where folks come from in the struggling with their doubts and concerns, and even their trauma stemming from religion, but I suffer from mental illness too. I've got depression that medication has been wonderful for, but I kind of know not only what it's like to come out of religion, the trauma that can be there, but also how dark it can be for a person who has mental illness and struggles with those kinds of issues too. And so not only how dark it can be, but when somebody steps up and wants to help you out and provides a resource to help you out, that pinpoint of light, that pinpoint of hope out on the horizon just makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. And it's like, yes, it's like, you're struggling. Here's a bunch of stuff that can help you. And one of the other things, and I guess maybe I didn't mention it because it's a little bit like selfish in a way, but I get a lot of fulfillment out of belonging to the RfR, like the community, but the leadership team, like just all of us working on this, and we are all so focused on the mission. And I feel so blessed. Um, so fortunate to be able to work on a team of people where there's no divas, there's no bad actors. Everybody's just like wants to help people and wants to support each other. And it's it's so great. It's such a great team to belong to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So what do you see for the future with your work of with RfR, and what will keep you going, continuing to work?
Well, I feel like, so we have goals, and I don't know what the word is. I'm very goal oriented, and I can be a little competitive, and I like results, and I like seeing things happen. And like I told you, where, the taxes issue, where I had to file like, big girl taxes this time.
It wasn't like the old form called like an easy form, and now you.
No, it was, so if you make, and I can say this because soon, because our everything is public, so it's like there's no secrets. So if you are a 501c3 and you bring in under 50 grand, basically all you have to file is like this little postcard that says like, this is the name of the organization and this is our tax ID number, and do you assert that you only made this much? Yes, sign here, blah, 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 and then you send it off. But if you make over that, you have to actually, it's like regular like filing taxes, and you have to fill out all these extra schedules, and it's it's not that bad now that I've done it. And I know what to expect and everything, but it's definitely way more work than just this little postcard. But having so we have like fundraising goals, and we met them, and we got this huge grant from Craigslist. And we got the huge grant from Craigslist because I signed us up for something like with PayPal, like their PayPal giving or something like that. So like they found us and they're like, oh yeah, let's give them a bunch of money. And so it just feels so validating and cool for these larger entities to see the value in our work. So like there's that, and I want to build on that. And then just seeing, so like we've mostly been focused in the United States, but we are branching way out of that. We are having, I mean, you know, because you're on the support groups. We are appealing now to, we have like international, so, and mostly English speaking for now, but we're building on that too, because we have people helping with Spanish speaking, and we have people helping with German speaking. And as we get more volunteers coming in that have the skill set that allow us to grow, we can continue to help and serve people. And it would be great if one day nobody needed us, but we are nowhere near close to that. And as long as there are people out there that are suffering in this way, we can help them. So it's just, that's where we're going. Like, we're doing it. We are growing. We are achieving those goals. So I guess what's motivating me now, or what has been motivating me before, is just seeing our growth, seeing that we're doing it and that we can do it. You know, it's like planting a little seed and you're like, man, I don't know what's going to happen here, but good luck, buddy. And then the seed comes out and you're like, oh, great, it's a plant. I hope it doesn't die, you know, and then it starts having fruit on it and you're like, yes, this is what I wanted. So yeah, so I guess our continued success motivates me a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, I got one last question for you. I like asking this question. Okay, so if you could travel back in time and talk to your past self,
Oh.
who would you talk to and what would you talk about?
Oh. It's so hard because I feel like if I did that, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Sure.
Because it's so like, okay, I am not grateful for all of the assholes in my life that have gotten me to where I am. I'm not grateful for them. I'm here despite their assholery. But gosh, it's so hard because I've had so much stuff. Like, if I were to go back and talk to myself, would I have become an atheist sooner? Probably. You know, would I have like sought attention for my anxiety sooner? Probably. Would I have not dated several of the people that I dated? Probably. But then I wouldn't be where I am right now. I don't want to go back and talk to my past self.
Because you like who you are now?
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking too big. Maybe like I need to like go back like just like a couple days ago. Maybe I would like go back a couple days ago and be like, hey, don't make that banana bread because the bananas have gone south. And you're going to have to make something else instead. It's not going to be as good. So don't even put that sugar in the bowl.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, that's awesome. Great. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me and letting us get to know a little bit more about you and kind of your story. And I really, really enjoyed this chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we sign off, is there anything you wanna say or something I missed?
Oh, goodness gracious. I guess for anybody watching this, if you are struggling with any mental health issues, get help because it will change your life. And I think a lot of people, sometimes people are afraid to get help with mental health issues because they feel like their mental health issue like gives them some kind of an edge or something. Like sometimes depressed people are afraid that it's going to change who they are, or anxious people, they're afraid of different things. Like they're afraid that the medication side effects will ruin their lives because they're anxious and that's what they think. Talking from personal experience. Or people who suffer with mania will be like, well, I don't want to miss my highs. It's like, no, it's not going to like alter who you are. It's just going to give you more control over who you are. Like you get to make the decisions instead of your brain being like, this is what's happening with you today. So I guess there's that. And then if you're struggling with religion, recovering from religion, we do not turn people into atheists.
Mm-mm.
If that's what happens, that's what happens. But we are here for people who are doubting. We're here for people who, wherever they are in their belief journey, you know, we're not a deconversion group. We are just here to help people if they're struggling with doubt, with certain beliefs, with aspects of their religion. Because most of the volunteers have been there and they understand those doubts and those questions and the feelings that you're having. So reach out to us and get help, and don't worry that we're going to turn you into an atheist. We're not here for that. We're here to support you. So there's that. And then the other thing is, if you love what we do, if you love recovering from religion, this is one of the best teams I've ever been on, and we can make use of almost anyone, almost any talent. We can put you to work. So if you want to be a part of a great team and have like awesome feelings of validation and solidarity, volunteer with us. And if you don't want to do that, but you have some extra money, you can give us your extra money and we will put it to good use.
Shanon, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up this episode of Faces of RfR. We're going to have another one coming out soon, but if you got a moment, take a look at some of the other interviews we've done. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out all of our fun social media stuff, because Shanon does a fantastic job working that. And if you're interested in volunteering, take a look at our website, recoveringfromreligion.org, to learn more about us and how to volunteer. And if you're struggling with some doubts or some religious issues, trauma, reach out to us. Don't hesitate to chat with us, to call us. We're here to help you. We're here to listen, and we don't think you should be suffering. We want to make it as easy for you as possible. So thanks, everyone, and until next time, we'll see you later.
There's no reason to go it alone. Recovering from Religion is ready whenever you are. Reach out today at recoveringfromreligion.org.